What's up, Bob? In today's video, so excited, we're going to take the resident zombie and we're going to replace her eyes. Okay, so I made this zombie about 5 years ago, and my skill set was like at this level, and now 5 years have passed and my skill set has gone up because I like to learn and study and whatever. So at the time, 5 years ago, I made these eyes with just ping pong balls. With these little ping pong balls, about 1.5 inches. They're too big, as you can see. And I cut them in half, I glued them in there, and I corpsed over them. Well, now we have the zombie eyes that I made on the last video. Like these diseased ones or these regular ones. So we're going to do plastic surgery on this lady. We're going to remove the eyes, we're going to put the new eyes, and we're going to corpse over it. And then in future videos, I'm hoping to also replace the teeth and even the hair, so that this zombie starts looking more like a real zombie. All right, let's get started. Let's go to the operating table. Now the first step is to remove the old eyes, and we're going to do that carefully because I'm going to corpse around it again, but I want it to blend with the rest of the head. I don't want to have to corpse the whole thing again just around the eyes. So this should be pretty easy because it's just like toilet paper and latex. There's one eyelid. Let's get the other one here. All right, we have the whole eye exposed, so we can pop that out. Now let's do this one. If you cut too much, it's fine. We're going to re-corpse this all the way. What's going to be tough is matching the color because this stain, I don't have it anymore. It looks like, I don't even remember how I attached them. It looks like hot glue in there, so we're going to have to pry this out. I'm going to go find some tools. We'll pop these guys out. I'm going to start with this screwdriver, see if I can find a spot where I can start popping. Ah, there you go. Pop right out. All right, one eye out. There it is. That's what the ping pong balls look like. See that? Of course, the other one. Let's bring the big gun here and cut it. Look at that. All right. Look at that. Now, in all honesty, that looks pretty cool. But we have a job today, and it's to replace the eyes. And you can do anything. You can do follow me eyes like these, which will follow you, right? See? It's like it's totally undead. Or you can do whatever eyes you want. So I have these zombie eyes I showed you. So we're going to put those in. I have, if I knew where they went, here. We have these on the menu today. These are regular looking eyes, almost like human, and these are like diseased ones with lots of like spots. There's that tutorial I made last week, which is linked below if you haven't seen how I made the eyes. So we're going to take these eyes, we're going to drop them in here. Of course, we got to cushion them and get the right depth and everything, and we're going to install them. So let's get started with that. And you don't want it to be, I mean, unless you want it to be cross-eyed, that's cool, but try to like line up the eyes so that the zombies are looking at something, right? All right, these guys are fitting pretty good and snug, so all I'll need is hot glue to get them, and they're nice and straight, as you can see. They're lined up, so I'm just going to secure them with some hot glue on those contact points. The corpsing will hold them in, so you see, pretty straight, right? This one's looking a little bit up, so I'm going to lift it up a touch. Nice. Okay, time to corpse. For the corpsing, I'm going to be using liquid latex. Now, if you're sensitive to latex or allergic to latex, then I recommend using glue and water. You can use Elmer's glue and a little bit of water to thin it out so you can get that same consistency, or wood glue, or even Mod Podge. But I'm going to be doing mine with liquid latex. Let's get started. For the corpsing, in addition to the liquid latex, we can use some cotton, right? Or tissue. This is just regular toilet paper. It has a print on this side, but no print. Well, a little bit of a print on that side, but the liquid latex will kind of like neutralize that print. You won't be able to see it. I think I might use both. The first thing I'm going to do is just to start stuffing some of this cotton after I unroll it, like that. I'll take a strip of it. And just to bulk it up. If it's too bulky already, like around, you don't have to do this part. You can go straight to the toilet paper. I want to give it just a little bit of bulk around the eye without blocking it. And I'm going to be poking this in with something like this, just, and then we'll soak it with liquid latex. Remember, there's a zombie, so the eyes are supposed to be kind of sunken in. So this bulking is very mild. Now to apply the liquid latex, which I'm putting here for now, using one of these disposable brushes. You can use this, or you can use a thicker brush. This is tiny though, but this will work because all I'm doing is soaking the cotton a little bit and sticking it there in the socket, in the eye socket. And just try to stay away from the eyeballs, because it's going to be a pain cleaning the liquid latex. It's not impossible, but and this will dry translucent, so don't worry about this white color. You'll see that it turns into like a yellowish translucent, and we're going to stain it anyway. Now for the eyelids, what I'll do is put some liquid latex over here so they can kind of like stick. And the eyelids are like a defined edge. Usually I'll tell you to like rip this so there's no hard edges. But in this case, let's take something like this and fold it so that this edge is the eyelid, right? The rest you can like rip off depending on how much you need. So let me rip right here and see, about right there. You can always blend it in if you have too much. And depending on how much eyelid you want, put it there. That looks good to me. So this hair is going to be in the way, but that doesn't bother me too much. Where's my little tool? I'm using this because it's the first thing I found. This is the screwdriver I use to pop the eyes out, but you can use a toothpick or the back of a brush. And I'm just pressing the eyelids in so they're nice and snug. And now we soak them with the liquid latex. I like this brush for the details, but if you have like a big area, just use one of these. I'm just pushing against the forehead and the eyebrow so that the paper adheres to the face, but also it gets rid of the pattern, see? Now for now, I'm going to leave this here. We're going to trim some of this because it's getting right here into the hair. It's just going to make a mess. All right, let's do the bottom eyelid. Again, I just ripped a piece of tissue, and we're going to take some liquid latex here, the bottom of the eye. This zombie is looking rough, but that's exactly what we want. Pulling this down a little bit over the eye. And we're gonna have to like stuff those edges with a little bit of cotton because it's too much of a gap there. And it looks like we need a tiny little bit right here on the outside. And if any of this thing is sticking out, that's fine. It's a zombie, the skin is rotting, you know, it's supposed to be looking nice and rough. I think that looks cool. Let me look at it. That needs a little bit more eyelid over here, I think. There you go. Add this eyelid right here. That eye looks great. Right, let's do the other eye, which I'm going to do is just repeat exactly what we did to this one. You can also leave an eye exposed like that, as if the eyelids have been ripped off. Oh, I'm starting to really like this, like the eyelid's gone. So let's make it look like a bunch of trauma. So I gotta get rid of this hard edge right here. This one. So I'm gonna put some cotton there to kind of mask that a little bit. Almost like an eyelid used to exist there, but it got ripped off. Oh, that looks great right there. It's a zombie. You can mess it up all you want. It'll just look cooler, you know. I use that big brush just to kind of tap in some of this liquid latex into it and stipple the texture around the eye. I got it on the eye, so we'll peel it off here a little bit later. Clean at least that part. Now, here's a trick. So you can take this cotton, when it's all soaked, you can just pull it to look like ripped tissue. Pulling this all over the eyeball, as you can see. See that? That looks great. Now I'm going to also do some damage here on this side, so it's not like totally perfect. Just doing like a little rip. See that? Alright, let this dry. Now you can speed up the drying process with a hair dryer, and that will speed it up a little bit. I'm just gonna go have dinner and I will be back. The liquid latex has cured. I let this sit overnight because I like it to cure as much as possible. It might still be wet in the deeper areas, but here on the surface it's nice and cured or dry all the way. Now I'm going to try to match the color of the whole zombie with this guy right here. This is wood finish, okay, and the color is espresso. Now this used to be cognac from a different brand, but I couldn't find it, so we're using this. Right, let's test this right here. This is pretty dark, as you can see. So let's put it there and then wipe it off. Alright, that's pretty dark. It's going to be hard matching it, but I think we can make it work. Especially if we extend the staining down here, right? And all around the face. And this is a stain, so the longer you leave it, the more it will stain. So you have to decide how soon after you put it do you want to go and, you know, rub it off, right? And I'm rubbing the excess off, so it's not as bright. As you can see, it starts blending a little bit better. I took a cotton swab with alcohol and just clean the eyes really well so they're nice and free of any grease or any stain. And now we're going to make them all nice and wet and nasty. So for that, we're going to mix some of this 2-part epoxy. For the first part, we're just going to mix it clear. We're not adding anything to it. You can tint this if you want, which I will in a second, but for the corneas, it's going to be just clear epoxy. And I'm using a disposable brush as well. Let me mix this real well. That looks good. And now we'll just apply it to the eyes. This will give it that wet look. Just smooth it out a bit. This is kind of like self-leveling, so once you get it smooth, it'll smooth itself a little bit more. So that one is nice and wet looking. Let's do the other one. That looks great right there, and a little bit more right here. This pupil. Right, let that cure all the way. And for this last part, I'm going to mix a little bit more of the epoxy. But I'm going to add a touch of red and green food coloring to give it a little bit of a bloody look. Now, if this is a real zombie, it would probably be like black blood or some kind of black fluid. But when it comes to Halloween, it's whatever your imagination wants it to be. So in my case, I want this to be slightly bloody, like fresh looking blood. It just adds a little bit of color and dimension to the whole prop. All right, let's put a drop here. And a drop of green. And I'm going to take just barely a touch of green and some red, like twice the amount. That's a little brown, a little more red. Keep mixing till it looks like blood. I like it a little bit redder. It's just easier to see. If you just make it brown, it'll look like the rest of the corpsing on this guy. Let's bring this in. Bring this in. I'm just applying it to the edges right here. I can zoom in if you want, make it easier for you to see what I'm doing. All right, so taking a little drop of the blood and running it along the edge of the eye. And you'll see it'll look like all bloody. And it'll complement the bruises we put on these eyes when we made these eyes. I don't know if the camera does it justice, but this is looking fantastic with the blood. I'm having it just blend a little bit into the epoxy we just did there. All right, let's do the other eye. I'm just basically tucking it in between the eyelids and the eyeball. All right, I want this outside to be slightly more irritated, so right here, nice little chunk of blood. That looks good. Wow, that looks great. Just need to upgrade the rest of the zombie, huh? Like I said, you can do black blood or you can do red blood, but that gives it a little bit of shininess. And once that Once that epoxy cures, you'll see how shiny it is and it'll look all nice and wet. So I'm going to let that cure and we should be almost done. That's looking great. Now if you notice, the area around the eyes that we created ended up a little bit dark from the darker stain, right? So I couldn't match it really well. And that can be fixed with a little bit of dry brushing, which I will do now. Now I'm doing it as a demo because, as I mentioned before, I'm going to also remove all the teeth, which means I'm going to rip all this off and all this corpsing off, and I'm going to replace the hair as well. So I'm going to have to repaint it all the way anyway, but I'm going to show you how I would probably match or kind of like blend this repair in with the rest of the zombie. And for that I have some brown. This one kind of matches this reddish color. I have some yellow ochre, one of these will do, and this just lightens it up a little bit more. All right, this one's totally dry, so let's try this one. And a little bit of white as well. I'm just taking a little bit of all of these, just dumping it right here. This old brush, mix it. And I have a chip brush, right? I cut it up a little bit to make it a little bit stiffer. I'm going to mix this up real good, but I'm going to get the excess off. And then all we do is gently brush over the repair, and it starts dropping the color, the lighter color there. You can adjust it to make it a little bit redder if you want, like this. See how that starts matching a little bit better? How's that looking? Great, huh? I love how the eyes turned out all shiny and the bloody resin. See that? That is great. All right, so I'm gonna keep going at this, and then I'll show you what the final product looks like. And that's how we do eye replacement surgery. Pretty cool, huh? If you like this tutorial, if I can figure out the camera, if you like this tutorial or this kind of stuff, consider subscribing. I want to thank all my Patreon patrons for your support. It's because of you that I can get a lot of the materials, props, equipment, cameras that we use on this channel. So thank you. Thanks everybody that is watching. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, share it, and I will see you on the next one, okay?